We are live.
We are
Hello and
live.
welcome to Handgun Radio. I'm your host, Ryan Machad from the wild woods of central Maine, and this is your home for all the news, information, and discussion in the handgunning world. This week, we're going to discuss shooting on a budget. So as always, Handgun Radio is brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network, and please check out the Patriot Patch Company for their awesome patches and other high-quality items. Visit patriotpatch.co for more information. And as always, shop Amazon using our affiliate link, firearmsradio.tv/Amazon. And please help support Handgun Radio. Head over to firearmsradio.tv/pledge and click on HGR. There are a bunch of different pledge levels over there, and we really appreciate it. Speaking of Patriot Patch Company, I have right here in my hand the patch of the month for January. It is Frosty the Snowman with an M249, and he says, "Stay Frosty" underneath it.
Nice.
It's quite nice. High quality PVC patches. Also, I have to mention the Firearms Radio Network meetup. And right now, I realized that I forgot to put the stuff in the show notes. So it is the FRN Meetup SHOT Show 2018 with Grizzly Targets. It's going to be on the 24th of January. From 17:30 to 20:30 Pacific Standard Time at the Flamingo Las Vegas Hotel and Casino. So should be a good time. 8:30 to 9 p.m. This should be ending, I believe. I don't do military time. I sound like an idiot to all the listeners right now. But it's going to be at Bugsy's Bar, is what it says. So there's an event on Facebook. Be sure to go search that. We'll put the links in the show notes. You can go meet a bunch of the different hosts that are going to be there. I unfortunately won't be there, but perhaps next year.
Ooh.
I don't know. I mean, a SHOT Show. I mean, I have to go once just to say I went.
Yeah, let's go.
But I kind of feel like NRA is the better one because I really want to. It's nice. It's nice to meet other industry people, but also, I think the best part of like NRA was like being able to meet some listeners and stuff too.
Yeah, and I do like that better. Yeah, I like the boots.
It's more accessible.
But I mean, I've never been to a SHOT Show, so I can't really judge yet.
So what did you do this week, Weird?
I shoveled a lot of snow. I think you might have shoveled a lot of snow too. Well, you probably didn't shovel as much as me because you have a plow guy.
No, we didn't shovel too much. The plow guy did pretty good. I just had to do a path like to the door.
Yeah, I had to do a path to the door and then the entire driveway. And it was really cold. And yeah. I gotta say, I do think that they made up that term bomb cyclone that they were talking about in the news, like just on the spot. I've never heard that term ever before in my life, but it was no joke of a storm.
Yeah, it was not. I mean, it was at first it started and I was kind of like, this isn't going to be as bad as they say it was going to be. And then it got really bad.
Yeah. The wind was just howling.
Yeah. We didn't lose power, luckily, but we got about 16 inches of snow.
So, I can't tell what we got because my driveway was on the upwind side of my neighbor's driveway. And so his side had about a foot and change on it. And my side had like 2.5 feet.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, people back when I think it was TJ messaged me saying like, "Oh, we got some snow," and I was like, "Yeah, wait till we have our first storm, and I'll send you the pictures of my back deck after the snow drifts come in and everything is finished. It's pretty bad."
I remember sending a picture. This was a bunch of years ago, a picture of my pickup truck with a snowdrift coming off of it, like just the red door of my pickup truck sticking out of the top of a snowdrift. And I sent to a friend of mine in Florida.
So you didn't do any shooting this week?
I did no shooting, but I had a birthday and my wife got me a bunch of cool stuff for podcasting. Like right now there's a sign hanging on the door that says "on air." Super official, and no one's going to disturb me because I think everybody's asleep right now. And I am listening on some really quality headphones. Unfortunately, excellent. I need to wire them up through. I've got a mixing board and all that. For those that follow my blog, I am currently working on starting my own podcast to be announced and decided later. But there's information up on my blog. We'll figure out. We got to figure out exactly what we're doing, and then get some content going and get all the P's and Q's set up. But I'm gonna get my set up my mixing board and my recorder and all that in line. So right now I've got some nice noise canceling headphones, and I just realized you sound really good. I sound really weird because I can't hear myself. So,
yeah. You got to be able to hear.
So I need to wire the phones through the recorder.
Well, in that way, you won't do what I did like very, very early on in the show's history, where I didn't end up recording myself at all, and luckily it was over YouTube, because I couldn't hear myself.
Ooh.
And so I had this really great interview, and it just seemed like the guy was talking to himself.
It's like that comic strip Garfield without Garfield, where the guy just takes all the Garfield comics and just erases Garfield from it. And so is just John being completely insane, because you realize Garfield's a cat. Cats don't talk to people, but John's and he's got the thought bubbles. So Garfield's not actually talking, even in like comic book physics. So John's just sitting and running around his house talking to himself with a fat, lazy cat. It's even funnier that way.
So I went to the Cabela's. I didn't get to see our friend down there, but I did buy 1,000 small pistol primers and 250 round box of the 125 grain Barry's flat point 38 357 bullets for reloading. So
nice.
Yeah.
Are you gonna load those for 38s or 357 or?
I usually do them for 38s just because I can shoot them in. I don't have to like remember to bring 38s for my J frame.
I just get this weird thing of I only want to load 357s like as powerful as I could get them. Like I only want 357s to be barn burners, but at the same time, I only want 38s to be cream puffs.
See, I do maybe 2 boxes a year of the really, really hot 357s. Usually I do 1 box if I'm going to be doing like any hunting or anything. But normally I just, yeah.
I'm almost out of that. I'm almost out of that box of 357s that we were shooting on the day we went to the range together, and so
those were fun.
I need to cook up some more.
Putting one of those in the LCR and then guessing where it was, that was real enjoyable.
Yeah. We should put the link to the video in the show notes, because that's just every so often I just watch that again, going, yeah, that was fun.
So, what's your drink segment this week?
So actually, my friend who bought it for me is listening, but I just had a meetup with some friends today, and he gave me a 4-pack of some exceptionally fancy beers, and it's from the Treehouse Brewing Company, or Treehouse Brew. What do they call themselves? I'm looking at their website right now. Let's see, Treehouse Brewing Company. Let's see, where are they based out of? Shop. They have a location. Contact.
Treehouse.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But I'm currently drinking their homepage has got lots of snow, so it's someplace with snow. But yeah, I'm currently drinking their green, which is an IPA, and I must say my socks are getting knocked off. Before this beer, there was Dogfish Head Brewing, which is out of Delaware, has a IPA called the 90-minute IPA, and I believe that's like how long the hops are in the wort or something along that lines. I'm not an expert brewer. I've made a few batches of beer, but it was always with like somebody else totally helping me. But that 90-minute IPA is amazingly good. And I think this one actually beats it out. It is really good. It's got nice flavor, nice notes. It doesn't have any of those off. A lot of IPAs, especially like these craft brew ones, there's almost like a banana-like flavor to it, which I think is just esters coming through. And I guess that's supposed to be like that. I don't like that taste. But this one is really, really nice, really smooth, hoppy, but not overly so. And yeah. Thanks, man, for buying me this beer. I'm enjoying it.
And you know me, I'm a fan of the finest natural light there is around.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, I did tell him, he's like, yeah, sometimes, you got to slum it and drink a PBR. And I'm like, a PBR is a good beer.
Excellent. So with that, we'll head into the main topic, shooting on a budget. So again, we are actually live. So if you have any questions, for the live audience, you can throw those in the comments and we'll try to answer them as we go along. I kind of wanted to break it up into, well, I mean, the big main things are when you're shooting, obviously ammunition, the firearm, obviously, and hearing and eye protection, because you shouldn't rather. You shouldn't be going without those. And then ranges. So where to shoot, depending upon where you live, what state you live in, it may vary. You might be able to go out and shoot at a friend's farm or something, or you may have restrictions on that. I mean, I'm not sure. It would be presumptuous of me to say that I know all the various laws in each state. So we'll start with ranges. Now, Weird, you're from Maine originally, so you kind of get the idea of let's go down to the sand pit and blast some cans.
Oh yeah, no, my first shots were at a friend's place. That's where I learned to shoot, was in my buddy's backyard. And then after that, yeah, I would drive out to the Sebago Lakes region, and there's a bunch of sand pits out there. I actually knew someone who owned a sand pit, so I'd sometimes go shoot in their sand pit. But there are also a couple of sand pits that weren't posted, so they're essentially public land, and we'd go shooting out there.
Now, down in Massachusetts, this really isn't. I don't know. I mean, maybe out in the western part, but
yeah, there might be some places way out in the west, but overall, I mean, certainly in the the eastern part of the state, yeah, there's pretty much everywhere has the no discharge of firearms ordinance, which means you cannot fire a gun unless you're defending your life here. So for that, it's really just clubs. I've actually, in Massachusetts, I have only shot at private clubs.
Now, I will say the good part about the place where we went to shoot was that while there, I mean, you had your standard safety rules and everything, I didn't see any of like the really intense, like you can only fire one round every 2 seconds, or anything like that. I didn't, maybe some ranges, but yeah.
The actual club ordinance is fire only as fast as you can keep your rounds on the paper. Essentially, that's just a nice little qualifier of if they see somebody shooting unsafely, they can state that you were shooting too fast because your rounds were going everywhere. So bye-bye.
I can't say I'm opposed to that.
No, it's a smart move. Keep your rounds, there. Though I must say, if we could jump a little ahead to sandpit, that is one of the nice things about it is, I don't know does everyone know what a sandpit is? Like, I don't know if they have them everywhere in the country. They have them everywhere in New England, but a sandpit is essentially just a place that's been mined out to dig sand for, all your sand applications.
You're basically standing in a field with like 30-foot high piles of sand, even higher, maybe all around you,
or just a dugout hillside. Yeah. So yeah, like I've definitely been at places, 30 feet above you is where there's trees growing up there, or that's the top of your berm. And let me tell you, that's, if you want to learn how to bump fire, that's the place to do it, because if you let a round get out of there, you are doing something really negligent. Yeah, exactly.
Now, the downsides to these places, some people will say they really like having an RO. I don't really care either way, but I do know with some of like the public ranges that we have here, like we used to have a sand pit way before I got the location where I do most of the videos now, and that's a private place. It's a friend's place. Before I used to have to drive almost 20-30 minutes to get to a public range down in the Augusta area, and that used to be just a sand pit. It had no stands, it had nothing. It was just maintained by Pike Industries at one time, and then the Warden Service took it over, and it was still just a regular pit. They did install cameras and stuff, but then something happened. I don't know what happened. They closed it down for a while. They ended up building actual shooting lanes and made it into a legitimate range. But the only issue is now you can only be there shooting when there is a volunteer RO present. So if you go down there and there's no one there, you can't shoot.
It's a volunteer, so you not necessarily know when there's someone.
Right. And then also I had a few instances down there where I got muzzled, and it was getting a little bit dicey to be focusing on my camera and trying to film a video and talk about a gun, and also pay attention to the people around me shooting that may not be as safety conscious or as like trained in shooting or may not even be a first time shooter. And, you know, I got muzzled a couple times and I was like, yeah, this is just something. I don't like this. I don't like this. It's very hinky.
Well, that is one of the problems with either, you know, a public range or, you know, a non-posted sand pit is I know it might've been actually the last time I was shooting in a sand pit. We were just cleaning up and going, and a truck comes up, or actually there's a couple of vehicles, you know, come down the road and park, and they start unloading their guns. And I was feeling a little bit of the, oh man, it's too bad. We actually, we've shot up most of our ammo. So we can't do the show and tell of the, oh, what do you got? You know, oh, do you want to put a few rounds through this and all that, which is, I mean, that's just one of those things that I just love to do, because that's part of the reason why I'm here is, you know, I'd go to my club and I'd, you know, poke around, and while we were changing targets or all that, I'd go over and say hi and see what they had, and they'd come over and say hi and see what I had, and we, you know, shoot a few rounds through each other's guns. So that's why I've shot like a bunch of different stuff. Just playing range show and tell. But these guys came out and they were unpacking guns, and we were talking about stuff and all that. And then they unpacked a cooler full of beer, and we went, cool, we're gonna get out of here.
Oh, boy.
I like beer and I like guns, but it is better to like the guns and then like the beer, in that order.
Some people's children.
Yeah, but yeah. So you know, who knows if they got dangerous and all that. But I don't want to be at the range where someone's loaded, and I don't want to be at the range where someone might be muzzling me and all that, and there's not someone there going, no, that's not okay. So
go ahead.
No, that's definitely a major drawback of it. Also, another big problem with the public ones is a lot of them start disappearing, because you're going to have the jerk that's going to come in and dump a whole bunch of stuff there. You know, they're going to bring TVs and glass bottles and all sorts of stuff to shoot at and blast away, and then pack up their guns and go home.
Yeah, a little tip. If you want to be the guy to go shoot your computer monitor, although it's happening a lot less nowadays because most people don't have them anymore, put it on a blue tarp or a garbage bag or something, so that way you can just wrap it up and take it with you when you're done.
Yep.
Because you're going to be, if you leave it there, you're going to be the reason the range gets closed.
Exactly. Or again, of the, you know, there was definitely at least one sand pit that I used to shoot at that was, it was private land, but it wasn't posted, and it was, you know, right there on, you know, on the public road. And so that's just considered open. And, you know, next thing you know, suddenly the no trespassing signs show up.
See, the thing, like, there was one range where you had, like, walking in there, you weren't walking on ground, you were walking on shotgun hulls. And if everybody who had shot there would just keep in mind, like, okay, I shot 150 rounds today, pick up that many pieces, or try to pick up as many as you can, and it wouldn't get that bad, and people wouldn't shut these ranges down. You have to respect it. It's not a right to be accessing somebody's private land that they're letting you shoot on. It's a privilege. If you don't treat it like one, you'll lose it.
Yep. Yeah. Or just, again, try to pick up a little bit more than what you brought. I mean, I know that's one of those things for the, for the gun rights protests you've got, is we're out there, we're talking against laws, or we're speaking out for our rights and all that. And then when it's time for everyone to go home, out come the trash bags. And I'll tell you, I guarantee that the streets are cleaner, you know, after we've been through there, than we go through. There's probably, you know, a pack of butts that some homeless person threw on the ground, or some empty nip bottles that we certainly didn't bring with us, but we brought them out. And that we do that for a reason. I mean, one, it's just a nice thing to do, but two, it makes you look better. And so if you do what you can to make that range absolutely pristine after you've had your good time, that is going to do nothing but curry favor.
So you can speak on ammunition too when you're talking about shooting on a budget. Ammunition is probably the biggest thing, because it's going to be a repetitive cost over the course of time that you are a shooter. So weird. When you started, like, how did you try to save money buying ammunition? Because, I mean, didn't you start with like a shotgun or a Mosin?
I started with a 1911 and a Mosin. Those were my two first guns. And so that was the 1911 8 exclusively Wolf ammo. I have put an ungodly amount of Wolf ammo through my 5-inch 1911, and it didn't mind that stuff at all. And it's not terrible ammo. Same with Tula ammo. A lot of that, the cheap Russian stuff. It's not going to be the cleanest stuff. It's not going to be the most consistent stuff, but overall, I've had nothing but good luck. Good luck with it. And then, of course, the Mosin was military surplus. So, yeah, buying spam cans for, God, I can't try to remember how much like some of my first spam cans cost for that stuff. There wasn't a whole lot.
I remember seeing like in the 70s, like $79.99.
That's coming to my mind as yes, 70 some dollars plus a decent amount for shipping, because it's, they're not light.
I kick myself too, because like there were so many good deals that I should have taken advantage of. Like I remember seeing like SKSs and stuff in surplus ammo and for them for like under $100.
Oh yeah, I wish I had bought more spam cans of the 7.62 by 25, the 30 Tokarev ammo, because oh man, did that stuff disappear fast?
Yeah,
like
and I don't even.
It seemed to be like everybody had
54R a lot.
Yeah, I think
anymore.
It might be drying up. I actually haven't looked, because I actually haven't really shot. I can't remember the last time I've actually shot a Mosin. There's nicer rifles out there.
Well, and speaking of steel cased ammunition, stop freaking out about it.
Yeah,
that's all I can say. I've shot God knows how much. Never had a problem. Don't foresee that I'll ever have a problem. And I hear of more people having issues with like Remington ammunition. Poor QC and everything. So I don't know. I mean, I've had good luck with it.
Yeah, Winchester White Box has a recall every couple of years. So yeah, there's a bunch of everyone's subject to quality issue. And one thing actually I heard about like steel cased ammo is that it's steel cased ammo. That's a harder metal than brass. So that steel is going to wear out your extractor claw faster. But the bottom line is that it's mild steel. So
that extractor claw is a whole hell of a lot harder than that steel case.
Exactly. So yes, in theory, that steel cased ammo will wear out your extractor claw faster than brass ammo. But when was the last time you had somebody have their extractor claw like worn down? They'll snap. I've definitely seen them break just
don't be dropping the round into the chamber and letting the slide slam home on it. Strip it off the mag.
That is actually probably the number one reason why is that person was drop loading. Unless you've got a one of the little Beretta tilt barrels, those guns don't have an extractor. They're designed to drop the round directly into the barrel. And the nice thing is the tilt barrel, so you can lift the barrel up and actually drop it right into the barrel without playing any gymnastics like you do. But yeah, do not drop a round straight into the barrel, of your Beretta 92 being trying to be Martin Riggs. Because your extractor claw is going to smash into the back of the round and then jump up onto the extractor groove. And you do that, it's just going to weaken it, and eventually it's going to snap.
Now, bulk buys. I am guilty of being the person who used to just buy by the 50 round box. When I found that I wanted to shoot a cartridge a lot, like when I really started shooting 9mm a lot, I ended up buying a 1,000 round case, and it was so much cheaper and also so much more convenient to just go to your like shelf in your gun room and grab like a couple boxes of ammo and go, instead of having to work in the time to stop at the shop and buy a couple boxes of ammo and oh, they don't have it, and now you're screwed.
Yeah, I mean that's one of those things of it's a little bit first tough to swallow, like if you're going on, because it's one of those like, oh yeah, no, you're going to be dropping like $200, for a case of ammo, and you're like, oh my god, that's not short money here. That's not the $12 or $15 that you might pay for a box of 50, but when you realize how much cheaper it is, and then on top of that too, you're not like burning gas going to and from your gun shop.
Well, and I mean, I started buying the 9mm, the Tula stuff, just because the time it took me to reload 9mm, I shot it so fast it almost felt like it just wasn't worth it. When it comes to revolver rounds, like revolver rounds are a whole hell of a lot more expensive than a box of 59mm. A box of 50-38 specials are going to cost you probably around $23-26. So reloading those is actually a viable thing because you're going to get a lot more trigger time with your revolvers. But in terms of 9mm, I mean, unless you I don't have a progressive press. For someone with a progressive press, it may be justified to them.
Yeah,
but I'm doing it on a single stage. So for me,
that's what got me to get a progressive press was exactly that. It was taking me like an hour and a half to load up enough 45 to shoot for 45 minutes, and this was one of those like, what am I doing?
Well, with a 9mm, I mean, you're putting 14 or 15 in the magazine, so you're going through it even quicker. I'm lucky if it probably lasts 30 minutes.
Not me, kind sir.
But
I live in Massachusetts. So, yeah. That would be illegal.
Oh, that's right. So but bulk buys, I really think are the way to go if you're going to be a high volume shooter, even if you're not. I mean, ammunition doesn't go bad. So
yeah, it's also just nice, just to have a bunch of ammo. Like, nothing's worse than having someone come over and be like, oh man, let's go shooting. And you're like, oh yeah, cool. But like, yeah, this gun that you really, really like, you get to shoot it 50 times. And then, and then it has to go away because that's all the food we've got for it.
Snarky Poster says, I remember when Winchester White Box 9mm 100 rounds was $12.88. Oh, I remember going to Kmart and buying I think it was Winchester, the White Box 22, 50 rounds for like 69 cents.
I've got a box of Wolf 45 sitting somewhere here. I think it's actually in my range bag right now. That's got it's like $9.
It is incredible. Now, 22 long rifle. Speaking of 22 long rifle versus 9mm, it used to be that 22 was super cheap to shoot, and honestly, nowadays, I mean, some days it's kind of like, 9mm is pretty close. It's not that much more.
Yeah, no, I remember the days, when I would especially like when I go out and buy a new brick of 22. I remember just like there'd be times where I'd show up at the range and I'd might have, I think like I had like just my 617, my little 10-shot revolver, and I've got a Marlin. It's a Glenfield, but it's the Marlin Model 60 that was made for Sears back in, I think, probably the 70s or 80s, and that one's got a 18 round magazine on it, and so there were those days where it's one of those like I'd be breaking the seal on a 500 round brick of 22, and at the end of the day I'd be tossing that whole brick in the garbage can and feeling very, very happy. And I spent like I was out $12. Oh no, that's money well spent. And now when it's like almost twice, it's twice that. Jeez, that's starting to sting a little.
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, when people ask me, should I start with the 22 or should I start with the 9mm? Sometimes I want to, especially if they're going to be shooting with a larger gun, that's not going to be real snappy. If they want to go with some tiny little single stack job, I'll be like, if you're beginning and you do want to go with something like a 9mm, you should go with a little bit bigger gun.
Yeah, but especially if you're going like with a full size polymer frame gun. I mean, the polymer frame guns are so easy to shoot. compared to the all metal framed guns, in my opinion, for a
Right.
beginner. For us geeks, we're just like, oh man, we love our metal framed guns. We love the old stuff. But but if you've got if you're getting yourself like a Glock 19 or like that new Ruger Security 9, and you're getting it as like the Ruger Security 9 is actually a great example of I'm assuming that it's going to be a spectacular gun because Ruger really hasn't made a lemon. Certainly not in any recent years. And honestly, I'm trying to think. Can you think of has Ruger made a lemon of a handgun?
Well, I mean, Ruger does have their instances of having recalls on several guns, but they take it back and they fix it. Yeah.
And they fix it quick. So I don't count that against them. Everyone does that. I mean, it's one of those Smith & Wesson is well known. I mean, they're the high quality, oh goodness, it's a Smith & Wesson. That's a really, really good revolver. That's a really, really good pistol. And I've got my Smith & Wesson 1911 and I have just absolutely shot the doors off these guns and done nothing to them but change springs. Like I've never even had a small part breakage in my guns. I mean, knock on wood, but they're full of MIM parts, and those MIM parts are just as strong as can be. But even Smith & Wesson has had recalls. It happens to everyone. I'm not going to count a recall against anybody, nor am I've seen videos of like gun shops where they'll take a gun out of the box and it's all jacked up from the factory. And like, oh man, look at this gun's got rust on it, right from the factory new box. This gun's got a canted front sight. This gun just doesn't work. It's totally jacked up and broken and all that. Well, yeah, they're mass production facilities. This is not, yes, if it was like a Magnum Research BFR, which I think those are all like completely handmade. Yeah, if one of those came in with a canted front sight or rust on it or something like that I would be upset about, or something like, Nighthawk Custom or any of these high end, like, one gunsmith, made gun. Yeah, no, that one, I expect it to work out of the box. But for, something like, a Ruger or Smith & Wesson or a Sig Sauer or anything like that, there's going to be one or two that gets through quality control. They make too many guns. So I don't, the question is not, do you expect them not to get that? But when you put it back in the box and send it back to them, how quickly are you made whole? And Ruger's really good about that. But we totally digressed on that, but let's just assume that the Ruger Security 9 is going to be a spectacular gun. I think that's a safe bet. But it's inexpensive. It's got, it's Glock 19 sized, thereabouts. I think, is it exactly the same size as a Glock 19?
I think that's what people were equating it to.
Yeah. So it's got that, compact to full size sort of ideas. People, Glock 19's build as a compact, but it's a pretty good sized gun, but you could still carry it pretty easily. Like that could be a very good all round, just like that could be the gun that, that you take to the range and shoot the doors off of it, then load it up with hollow points and put it in your holster and carry it back home. And then at the end of the day, you clean it after that range trip. I guess you really don't have to. I like to clean them. But you clean it, you don't clean it, but then it goes in your nightstand or it goes in your bedside safe at the end of the day, just in case something goes bump in the night, and in that case, going out of your way to get yourself a 22 that might be or might not be close enough to it as like a cheaper training option, it's almost a waste of money, because 9mm out of a polymer framed full size gun, really not that punishing.
So before we move on from ammunition, Snarky Post has brought up another good point. I said ammunition generally doesn't go bad. Do you agree or disagree?
I strongly agree. I mean, ammunition can be abused. Ammunition can be ruined, but it does not go bad.
You mentioned like the stabilizers, and when the stabilizer goes, you can get hang fires and squibs. I suppose that is probable, but I had to mention it because I was like, gee, I'll get emails about that now.
The only bad ammo I've ever got was I ended up buying, I still have it, a partially used spam can from a gun shop, and I paid almost nothing for it. And like they gave it away to me dirt cheap, and whatever it is, it had been kept in a moist basement because like some of the this it was 7.62 by 54R. It was Chinese made 7.62 by 54R, and like the some of the primers would have that white frost creeping out around them and all that. So it's one of those, some moisture had gotten into it, and that was, I would have hang fires, or sometimes just the rounds wouldn't go off at all.
Perhaps better to say with proper storage, ammunition should last.
But I mean, I've got a spam can ammo sitting on like my basement floor, and it's no big deal. And I actually had a partial case of steel cased 7.62 by 39, so AK ammo that was, and it was not a spam can. It was just I believe it was Wolf, but it was just Wolf steel case. They're polyformants in the cardboard boxes. And I had a basement flood a few years ago, and those things got soaked through, and the ammo started, there was a little bit of rusting on them, and I had some ammo on stripper clips, and those, because I shoot an SKS for that ammo. I had some on stripper clips, and so some of the stripper clips got a little bit frozen up, and I needed to spray them with like WD-40 to break them loose and all that. And of course, also people say, "Oh, don't use WD-40 on ammo." And I had no problem whatsoever. I mean, I wouldn't spray the WD-40 on them and just leave them alone. Like I sprayed WD-40 to break them free, to take them to the range, and to clean up the clips and get the clips all free to rust. But even these ammo with like a little bit rust, I wiped down the rusty ones to get them excess, because you don't want to have rust on the outside, could cause it to stick in the chamber. But they all went off. I had a bunch of ammo that got wet, and I'd just be like, oh, here's an interesting learning experience. Let's see if I start getting hang fires or stuff went bad. Yeah, maybe if it gotten wet and I hadn't, done my best to dry it out as soon as I could, and taken it to the range, fairly recently, instead left it for like years and years, that might be an issue. And then again, also I mentioned military surplus spam cans. If you can get your hands on a spam can, or or like one of those, like the ammo crates, what are they, the steel ammo boxes, that have the rubber gasket on them, that's all sealed up and all that. That ammo is going to be good, like practically forever. I mean,
as long as it's still sealed up.
Yeah, as long as it's still sealed up and the air was dry inside it when it was sealed. So I'm assuming it was sealed by, whoever was actually sealing it up for the military, because again, the military builds ammo to last. And then you're storing it in a reasonable location. I mean, you could store it in a damp basement, and if it's all sealed up and the gasket hasn't been compromised, it should be fine. You don't want to store it up in like your attic, where it might get to be like, 120 degrees. I don't think like house conditions that where the house isn't on fire, the ammo is going to cook off. But I do think that exposed time to very, very high temperatures might cause the powder to start to break down, and you might have some issues with how the round is going to go off.
So moving into hearing and eye protection.
Yeah, just don't wear it. Just don't wear it. You don't need it. I mean, it's one of those like, ow, shooting hurts my ears. Don't be a wimp. Be tough. Your dad never,
gmail.com.
Your dad never shot you or ear protection when he was a kid shooting, and he can't hear anything.
The cheapest option is probably those little foamies. At least use those, please. Sometimes if you're shooting something or you're shooting indoors, you might want to double up. Or if you really can't get a good seal with the foamies, you may want to double up with a pair of muffs as well. Some people will do the foamy earplugs and then use the electronic muffs, which I guess is a pretty good option as well.
One thing I like is actually those little like 3 baffle, earplugs.
Like the one that you gave me?
Yes, I mean, I gave you the Sonic Defenders by Surefire, and those are a little on the pricey side. Um, they're not unreasonable, but I don't think they fit into the budget idea of this episode. But actually, here's a big tip for everyone: don't buy your hearing protection at the gun shop if you're on a budget. Go down to your local drugstore and go to where you'll find like the sleep aids, the little, the I mean, they're not, I don't know if they're, you call them sleeping pills, but you've got all the various stuff for stuff to help you sleep. They will have right there, they will have earplugs. They'll have, packages of the foam earplugs. I just buy a pack. That doesn't matter what your condition is. Buy a pack of the foam earplugs, because there might be someone that shows up at the range that either forgot their earplugs and they wanted to go shooting, or someone felt that they didn't need to have earplugs, and you can be like, look, no, I'm not going to ruin your hearing just by me having a good time and you being an idiot. Put on some earplugs. And but yeah, you can buy earplugs. You could buy, at your hardware store, you could buy safety glasses. I haven't actually looked. Have you looked into ear protection, in your your lawnmower section of the hardware store? Like the lawn care. Cause I mean, every landscaper I see mowing the lawns, all, mandated they wear ear protection. You see the town guy mowing the lawn at the park, and he's got ear protection on. That's not the same branded ear protection. I've never seen stuff that's like, oh yeah, no, I wear that exact same ear protection at the range.
I'd have to imagine at Home Depot it would be a bit more expensive than it would be at your local pharmacy.
Well, I'm talking about like earmuffs. Like if you want to get cheap,
yeah.
if you want to get cheap earmuffs, could you go to Home Depot or the hardware store and pick up earmuffs that are more or less as good as, I mean, not as good as like the nicest earmuffs that you're going to find at there, the good, like, 40 decibel, electronic earmuffs, but something that's going to be good for, 30 decibels. And
go to your local Harbor Freight.
Yeah. See if they've got some of those. But again, at my local CVS, I had a pair before I got these Sonic Defenders, which is like the only thing I use. But I still got the other ones kicking around in my range bag just in case. I just at CVS bought a pair of earplugs. They look just like the stuff you'd use at the gun range, where it's got the little silicone 3-baffle thingy that you stick into your ear, and I think they're like 40 decibel reduction. They're insanely high reduction of that. I mean, I that's all I use is in the earplugs, unless, I've got, I'm shooting something particularly loud or all that. But in the earplugs, they reduce so much noise, and they just don't get in the way. They're so light. It's like wearing nothing at all, which is just so much better. And I bought them at CVS, and I think I paid like $5 for them, and I've had them for years. And that's all I've used. So yeah, don't necessarily buy at your local gun shop. Maybe your local gun shop's prices are comparable, in which case, if you go to CVS to go pick up some aspirin, or pick up your prescription, and see that, oh, the ear protection is about the same at the gun shop, support your gun shop. CVS doesn't need the help. Your local gun shop does. But otherwise, you might be able to find that you save yourself a bunch of money buying ear protection that you're supposed to wear in bed, not at the gun range, but it's exactly the same as the stuff they sell for the gun range.
Eye protection, because I mean, some people like to have the fancy sunglasses that are rated, but just make sure whatever you buy is, what is it? What's the rating?
Oh shoot, I forget what it's called.
Is it ANSI or something?
That sounds like one of them. It might not be the right one, but yeah.
Anyway, there's some sort of rating for eye protection.
Well, I think it's OSHA.
What it is?
Aren't they OSHA rated?
Yeah, let's see. Hold on.
You look that up. But I will also say, so here's another nice little trick for that is, if you are on a budget, number one, you find somebody who works in in an OSHA certified hazardous environment. I mean, I've worked in labs for years and years and years. And hey, guess what? There's a little bin filled with safety glasses, and they don't care why you take them or when you take them. Just when the bin is empty, they'll fill them back up with more safety glasses. Grab one or two of them and throw them in your range bag. They're not going to say anything. They're not going to care. The other option, again, go down to Home Depot. Don't go to your gun shop. Go down to your Home Depot and buy some safety glasses.
Ballistic. Okay, let's see. Ballistic glasses have met the military requirement for ballistic resistance testing, which is the ANSI requirement for high velocity impacts.
Okay.
So, I mean, you're looking at, there's any number of things that could be impacting your eyes.
Yeah. I mean, but so what I'm saying is a
$10 pair of glasses.
A piece of jacket coming back off a piece of steel that you were shooting, or ricochets off a rock in a sand pit and comes back at you, is really not a whole lot more different than a rock kicked up by a lawnmower blade. So you might be able to find that you could save yourself a little bit of money, and also enough to like buy like multiple pairs, so you can keep them, put one in your car, put one in your range bag, make it so that you don't lose it. And then when you get a nice pair of shooting glasses or something, go and, you'll have some just in case somebody shows up without eye protection. Here, use my eye protection. And you're giving them something you didn't spend a whole lot of money on. So if they end up walking away, or you want to leave before they do, in just one of those, like, keep them, man. It's no big deal. But yeah, also, another option for saving money, if you're someone like me and you wear prescription glasses, it's not a whole lot more money to get them ballistic rated.
Snarky Poster says it's the ANSI Z87.1
okay
rating. So search that if you want to know. Also, so we already talked about Ruger. There's a few other companies I'd like to talk about before we wrap up here in terms of handguns. But first, I thought we should try to define cheap bad versus cheap good.
Mm-hmm.
High Point, cheap good, I think. People probably disagree with me, but they're not refined. They're, a lot of people call them bricks. They're big and heavy for what they are, but
I would argue that High
damned
Point
if they work, man.
I would say High Point is right on the ragged edge of cheap good versus cheap bad. It's kind of very much depends on what you're looking for in a gun. I knew a guy who he was a shift worker, and he lived in a trailer park that was kind of crappy in Maine. And, there were drug dealers in town and all. There was some shifty characters, and he wanted something to protect himself, but he did not have a whole lot. I mean, you don't get yourself in a situation like that. If you got a ton of money, don't buy a gun, get an apartment in a nicer part of town. But yeah, he couldn't do that. So he went down to his local gun shop, pawn shop. I forget where he got it. He might have met somebody, but bought a used High Point. And hey, guess what? Yeah, High Point's new. They're cheap, but a lot of people will say, don't buy a new High Point, buy a used something else. Well, in this case, this dude bought a used High Point and did not spend hardly any money on it at all. And there he goes. He's got a gun, and let me tell you, I've shot it. It damned if it worked, and I've shot it after he shot it a whole bunch of times. It works. So it's a gun that works. I've heard some stuff about them not being safe. I really haven't seen a whole lot for that. So overall, they're very safe guns. Certainly the guys at Geeks, Gadgets, and Guns, they've tried to blow one up, and they've so far been unsuccessful. So that's kind of something to say about those guns. Certainly have not had I've heard the slide will, if you shoot them the wrong way, the slide will come off and come back at you. Never seen that in the flesh. But at the same time, you're going to be dealing with an absolutely miserable trigger pull. You're going to be dealing with a gun that just feels horrible in the hand. Yeah, they're heavy. They're huge.
Well, it feels all right in the hand. It's just really, really top heavy.
It doesn't feel all right when you pull the trigger and that slide moves back and forth.
No,
and it doesn't feel good when you pull the trigger, just period.
But they do work. Every single one that I've ever fired has worked fantastic.
Yes.
And the people that I know that own them don't really have any issues with them whatsoever.
Yeah. So there's some cheap bad about them is what I'm saying, but there's also some cheap good.
Yeah, cheap bad, we're talking about like Rome 22 revolvers.
Yes.
And stuff like that. Stuff that I don't even know if I would shoot.
Yep. Taurus is tough because it's one of those, like, you know, I mean, if I could easily get a hold of Tauruses, like if I walked into my local gun shop and there was a rack of Taurus guns, I might be tempted to start kicking the tires and having a real close look at them and rolling the dice with the, hey man, this is especially since Taurus is like the gun of the week club. Like they have got like so many variations of guns and a bunch of stuff that other people haven't even made. Like I think that they had like a little, like they had a 5-shot, 45 long Colt for a little while. Like that'd be so cool to have one of those, like a little compact 45 Colt revolver. Why would you not want that? But at the same time, they've got terrible quality control. That is Taurus's major problem. But that doesn't mean every gun coming out of Taurus is garbage. We were just talking about High Point. Every High Point coming off the line, as far as I'm concerned, is exactly the same. It is crude, it is unrefined, but it works. With Taurus, some of them are crude and unrefined and don't work, and some of them are ridiculous. Some of them are, oh my God, that is a really, really nice gun. Like, oh my gosh, I would take the Pepsi Challenge with this Taurus versus a Smith & Wesson any day. It's just a question of how did the dice roll as far as how that gun was put together.
Well, speaking of Taurus, that brings up one of the other companies I have on this list, Heritage Arms. Mm-hmm. I have one of their Rough Rider revolvers from the early days, and it still works great. It does have, I think, the mainspring's a little bit worn out. It has been shot a lot. Mm-hmm. So I do have to probably have a replacement for that. But Taurus owns them now.
Okay.
And they make like the single action 22 revolvers. And now they're making, they're making big bore revolvers now too. I didn't realize that. But they're relatively inexpensive, and I've been impressed by the performance. So if you really want to get into just shooting like rimfire, that's another good option that really isn't going to cost you that much.
Yep. Again, I think, we did a whole show on it, right? Buy used.
Yes, buy used.
Look up this show, do some searching on that, go on a gun forum and ask questions, get a few ideas of what to look for. How do you find a gun that has been rode hard and put away wet and completely abused and may not, or been messed up with a Dremel, versus a gun that has maybe seen some life, been used a lot. Couple of great examples is my 6-inch Smith & Wesson 1911. That gun was a Don Dremel special. I didn't get taken on it. Like everything that was wrong with it, I fixed probably reasonably well I fixed better than I would get if I'd gotten a gun that wasn't screwed up. But, at the same time, I spent more than what it would cost for me to get a gun that wasn't screwed up from a gun shop. It just, I rolled the dice wrong. It was the first pistol I ever bought, so I didn't know what I was doing. But meanwhile, on the other hand, my carry gun, my Scandium frame, my Smith & Wesson 1911 SC, that gun was carried a lot and shot probably a good bit from how it looks. But overall, whoever had it, they used it a lot, they took good care of it, and then they sold it. And so it has some holster wear on it. You did not see this, but when the gun came to me, It had the original rosewood Smith & Wesson grips that the previous owner had spray painted black, and I guarantee that's part of why the gun came. I got the gun for such a good price, but just it was a little, it was a little bit rough on the outside, and but it was overall it was sound on the inside, and so I ended up getting a really really good deal on that gun. Uh, you've got to know what to look for, and it's really not that hard. It's really just a question of like a couple of things to look at. Something as simple as when I was helping my father-in-law buy his Glock 19. Open up the gun, looked at the feed ramp. The feed ramp was as shiny as a brand new one, which said to me that somebody like my father-in-law, because he's only put like a handful of rounds through that gun. Somebody bought it and had it and then later sold it. And that may be the thing with mine, because my father-in-law is not going to the range a whole lot. Just it is what it is. But if that feed ramp is looking absolutely pristine, there's really not going to be a whole lot wrong with the gun. So figure out what you need to look at for a used firearm. It's not that hard. It's pretty simple as a way to figure out if the gun's been messed with or not. Some stuff's going to be tough, like if someone's done a bad trigger job on something. Learning what a good trigger feels like and a bad trigger feels like is something that just takes experience. But otherwise, I think you can overall come out ahead. Guns are durable goods. I mean, I've got guns that are over 100 years old and they still work. And guess what? The guns that I own now are going to still be working in 100 years.
Well, I think that's a good place as any to wrap up, and you can always still be a shooter on a budget. So with that, we'll head into the wrap-up section and close out the show. Don't forget to shop Brownells using our affiliate link. Head to firearmsradio.tv and click the affiliate link in the upper right-hand corner. Be sure to go like Handgun Radio on Facebook and share it with your friends, and leave us a review on iTunes. Listen to all the great shows on the Firearms Radio Network, and visit the Firearms Insider for reviews and other awesome content. And check out the Firearms Radio Network on YouTube. And Weird, as always, thank you for coming on the show. And where can people find you?
You can find me at my blog, which is weirdworld.com. And I'm also a regular host of the Squirrel Report, even though I was not there last week because I was shoveling snow.
Yeah, weren't we all? And how many people have been bugging you to start your new podcast?
I've been getting a lot of traffic. And so, yes, it is in the works. I'll tell you right now, I'm taking my time because I want to make sure that you guys get an absolutely polished and quality product. And also, I'll tell the people that are listening right now, we're going to definitely build in a little bit of a buffer so that, if we want to take a little bit of time. We don't want to, rush through the product. We'll still have something every week.
Excellent. Yeah, that'll be awesome. And you'll hear about it here once everything is finalized.
Yep.
All right. So until next week, have fun and safe shooting.